Money doesn't feel the same at every level. $10,000, $100,000, and $1 million are all milestones, but each one represents a completely different stage of financial life. What most people don't realize is that the jump between these levels isn't just about numbers. It's about mindset, strategy, and the role money plays in your life. That's what makes each stage feel so different. This is what I call the rule of three. The three milestones of 10K, 100K, and $1 million. Each one changes how you think, how you spend, and how you build wealth. If you understand what each stage means, you can approach it with the right strategy instead of getting stuck like most people do. Let's break it down. The first stage is 10K. For most people starting from zero, the first milestone is $10,000. This is the survival and discipline stage. At this level, the goal isn't to get rich overnight. It's to prove to yourself that you can control money instead of letting money control you. $10,000 might not sound like much in the big picture, but if you've never saved or invested before, reaching this point is life-changing. It's the first time you can look at your account and see something more than just bills and debt. It's proof that you can live below your means, that you can be consistent, and that you can build habits around money. At this stage, the work is mostly about discipline, cutting unnecessary expenses, learning how to budget, avoiding lifestyle creep when you get a raise, maybe starting a side hustle to bring in a little extra cash. You're building the muscle of delayed gratification. You're learning that every dollar has a choice attached to it. It can either go towards something temporary or towards something that compounds. The reason this stage feels different is because it's the first time money gives you breathing room. Suddenly, an emergency doesn't completely destroy you. A flat tire, a broken phone, or a small medical bill is no longer a crisis. $10,000 represents stability. It tells you, I can handle life without panic. But here's the trap. Many people stop here. They treat $10,000 as the finish line instead of the starting point. They get comfortable with having some savings and don't push themselves to build further. The reality is that 10K is proof of discipline, not wealth. It's the foundation. The next stage is where you prove you can grow money, not just save it. At 10K, the danger is complacency. It feels safe, but it's not enough to protect you for long. Inflation eats away at it. A single bigger emergency, like a job loss or a major repair, but then could wipe it out. That's why this stage is about shifting your mindset from survival to growth. The $10,000 is no longer just cash sitting in an account. It becomes your seed capital. It's the proof that you can control money. And now the challenge is to make it work for you. This is when you start asking different questions. Instead of just, how do I cut costs? You start thinking, how do I increase my income? Instead of, how do I save this $10,000? You think, how do I use this money as leverage to grow? Maybe you invest a portion in the market. Maybe you take a course that raises your earning power. Maybe you test out a small business idea. The point is, $10,000 is not the end. It's the launch pad. And this is where most people separate themselves. Those who stop at 10K tend to circle back to square one every time life gets tough. They dip into it, drain it, and struggle to rebuild it. But those who treat it as step one use it as momentum. They stack habits, they stack income streams, and they begin building toward 6 figures. The second stage is 100K. The jump from 10,000 to 100,000 is bigger than it looks. This is the growth and skill stage. At this point, you've already shown you can save. Now the challenge is multiplying money while continuing to increase income. Why does 100,000 feel so different? Because it's the level where compounding starts to matter. A 10% return on 10,000 is just $1,000. Nice, but not life-changing. A 10% return on 100,000 is 10,000. That's when growth becomes visible. That's when money starts to feel like it's working for you instead of just sitting in a savings account. Getting to this stage requires more than just cutting expenses. You need to increase your earning ability. That might mean developing higher income skills, switching careers, starting a business, or investing in yourself through education. It also means starting to invest consistently. Not just putting money aside, but putting it into vehicles that grow. Stocks, index funds, real estate, or even small business ventures. The reason this stage feels different is because you move from surviving to planning. At 10,000, your thoughts were about emergencies and expenses. At 100,000, your thoughts shift to opportunities. You start asking, how do I grow this money? How do I make sure I don't lose momentum? But there's also a danger here. Many people at this stage freeze. They keep their money in savings because they're afraid of losing it. They don't trust themselves to invest. Others fall into the trap of lifestyle creep. The moment they see 6 figures, they start upgrading everything in their life and end up back at square one. That's why this stage is less about discipline and more about skill. You need to know how to grow income, how to allocate money wisely, and how to protect your wealth from impulsive decisions. This is also the stage where patience becomes more important. Reaching 100,000 might take 3 to 5 years of focused effort. For many, that feels like forever. But it's exactly this patience, staying consistent with investing and resisting distractions, that sets you up for the final stage. At this point, it's less about quick wins and more about systems. You're not just budgeting anymore, you're building habits that repeat automatically. You're not chasing every hot stock tip or business idea. You're sticking with strategies that you understand and can sustain long-term. The difference between those who plateau at 100K and those who break through is how well they can turn good habits into consistent systems that no longer rely on willpower alone. Reaching 6 figures is the proof that you can grow money. It's a milestone that shows you're capable of more than just saving. You can build. But the real test is what you do after hitting it. Do you let comfort and fear slow you down? Or do you stay focused and let compounding finally start working in your favor? The third stage is $1 million. The jump from 100,000 to 1 million is the hardest, but also the most rewarding. This is the vision and system stage. By this point, you've already proven you can handle money and grow money. Now, the challenge is to scale wealth beyond your own hours. At 1 million, money transforms from a safety net into a true wealth-building engine. A 10% return on 1 million is 100,000. That's more than most people earn in a year of full-time work. This is why wealth feels so different at this stage. You're no longer trading time for money. Your money is producing enough to cover your lifestyle, and then some. But here's the truth. Getting from 100,000 to 1 million is rarely fast. It often takes a decade or more. The wealthy understand this, which is why their mindset shifts. Instead of asking, how do I save more? They ask, how do I build assets that produce income on their own? This is where businesses, real estate portfolios, and scalable investments come into play. You can't get to 1 million by just cutting expenses or putting money in a savings account. You need ownership. You need systems that keep producing, even when you're not actively working. The reason this stage feels different is because money no longer just supports your life. It creates freedom. You don't need to say yes to every paycheck. You can make choices based on values, not just survival. That freedom is the real difference between being financially comfortable and being truly wealthy. But again, there are traps. Some people reach 100,000, get impatient, and chase risky shortcuts to hit 1 million faster. They gamble on trends, pour everything into speculation, and often end up losing years of progress. Others underestimate how long the final stretch takes and give up before the compounding effect can do its work. The truth is, the $1 million stage requires vision. You need to see past the short term and commit to systems that snowball over time. You can't play the same game you played at 10K or even 100K. Each stage requires a new version of you. The rule of 3 shows us something simple but powerful. Money growth isn't linear. It changes in feel and function at each stage. 10,000 proves you can control money. 100,000 proves you can grow money, and 1 million proves you can build systems that last. If you try to use the same mindset at every stage, you'll get stuck. The habits that take you from 0 to 10,000, discipline, saving, cutting expenses, are not the same habits that take you to 100,000. And the strategies that get you to 100,000, growing income, investing, and skill building, are not the same strategies that take you to 1 million. Each stage sharpens a different part of you: your discipline, your skill, and finally, your vision.